Space. A vast void of infinite nothingness, where the nearest sign of life seems just out of reach. Technology. The catalyst to which a vessel would be created to travel across the enigmatic obsidian. A potted plant. The last semblance of nature thrown haphazardly onto the ship to give a familiar sense of home. Thank you, Planty, for everything you've done. What secrets will you uncover across the many different trials laid before you? Today we look at Deadzone Rogue, one of the most addicting roguelike FPSs to be released in my first Content Cleric deep dive. Before getting started, I wanted to make a note that this type of video will not include a skit, but will follow the natural progression of explanation analysis, barely passable comedic breaks, and ultimately scoring that are present in my other videos. I considered this for a regular Cleric's Blessing, but I couldn't secure my ticket to space. Thanks a lot, Jeff Bezos. First off, what is Deadzone Rogue? Gameplay is that of a mission-based roguelike FPS with meta progression and an abundance of strategic synergies. All of that is a long-winded way of saying shooter RPG with endless capabilities. Most runs contain a specific set of rounds, somewhere between 20 to 30 that are not randomized and can be learned and adapted to, allowing for easier completion with repetition. Before choosing a run, players spawn into the command center on the ship. This area functions as a hub where you may use collected tech components for permanent meta upgrades, increasing power level throughout all subsequent runs, with superior items being available from Act 2 onwards, access a stat menu giving you everything you've ever picked up or used, the Sigmail system, a lore-based codex used to easily access logs of previous inhabitants, allowing for the customization of your profile with titles and profile pictures, and the customization menu, which enables players to equip different suit and weapon skins that are unlocked through campaign progression and challenge runs. Lastly, the mission selector. Deadzone currently functions across 3 major zones and a 4th added zone, each with their own progression and unlocks through its plethora of challenges. An interesting touch developers decided to include is every major meta-defining increase to player power that becomes available as you progress through the campaign is, as I mentioned previously with superior items, locked to their acts and forward. This means that, for instance, the power creep introduced in Act 3 to keep the game more engaging and difficult, but allowing for more player power, would not trivialize difficulty in Act 1. Speaking of difficulty, every single mission in the entire game, barring some challenge missions, have 5 levels of varying difficulty ranging from adventure to nightmare. But playing on anything but nightmare makes you a coward. With that overview out of the way, let's focus on how runs operate. Once a mission is selected, players begin in an empty hallway leading to the first room. Before combat begins, players are given the chance to analyze opponents in the room, allowing for strategic positioning and awarding prior game knowledge. But if you're anything like me, you'll probably just start spraying on Nightmare and lose a 30-minute run in a quarter of a second. Each non-weapon specific run sees players start with a pistol and move between sectors, which are essentially rooms filled with a vast array of enemies. Keyword vast. You might have a classic melee enemy, but in the next act, you can teleport. You may have an agile spider that's annoying to shoot, but a couple sectors later, a huge one with a flamethrower on its head is toasting your buns. As the player proceeds, sectors become increasingly difficult, but Deadzone gave us the perfect counter to everything they throw at you: the dash. Single-handedly the strongest option in the game. Getting sniped? Dash. Walking way out of position into 7 void spiders? Dash. Falling off of hovering shipping containers suspended in space? Dash. Getting sucked off by a flying abyss? Well, actually, dashing doesn't work for that. You have to shoot them. Thankfully, players are given a reward at the end of each area, containing a choice between 3 weapons, perks, or items. Starting with player equipment, Deadzone follows the action RPG route of having a color-coded, tier-based system, akin to games such as Diablo or Borderlands, with rarity ranging from white to gold. These rarities increase the amount of affixes on anything the player can equip, with weapons starting at white, having 0 and no element, to gold, having an element and many affixes. This system also applies to armor drops in Deadzone. Armor inhabits 4 different slots on the player: helmet, chest piece, gloves, and boots. with these slots acting as another separate stacking passive to add to player power, as well as damage mitigation through default armor rate. As a shooter, weapons dictate how fun the game actually is, and I can't stress enough how good all of them feel. This is one of the first games in general where I honestly felt like I could use any item in the game's entire arsenal and complete runs. Obviously, some guns outclass others, such as the exotic weapons, namely the Iron Squires, a pair of elemental-infused, full-auto Carnage. But they aren't the only way to win. Weapons such as the Warrior, the Ion Driver, or even the Snapdragon all function in different ways, and Deadzone does a good job at balancing primaries and secondaries. Personally, I wish the shotguns got a little love, but I know there are plenty of Act 4 setups that make them very strong. Moving on to perks, like many roguelikes, Deadzone uses a lineage system, starting with a tough choice of augment that is run-defining. This changes your synergistic decision-making for the remainder of the run and may feel profitable, or act as an impediment when making the many decisions that follow. But the best feeling is choices made regarding primary perks. These powerful passives change the impact of elements, add new abilities for the player, or even provide additional functionality of the player's arsenal, and are a staple to run progression. This is where the lineage comes into play. Every primary perk has 4 secondary options, which players can choose up to 3 of in a run. This take 3, lose 1 approach allows for further replayability when opting in on a maybe less used option. The last major choice in Deadzone comes from the item orbs. This is the choice you'll be making most often in a run. Items are powerful passives that increase player strength in a variety of ways, from increasing crit chance to empowering elements, or even enhancing shield capability and movement speed buffs after taking damage. There's no end to synergistic play. And synergies don't only come through obvious interactions. In missions available from Act 2 onward, players are given a choice of superior items, which appear in a reprieve between certain sectors of each run. These are more specific and more powerful than regular items. Each run will have up to a maximum of 8 equipable superior items. For example, Ammo Surplus, which provides a bottomless clip after getting a kill, allowing for easy chain kills throughout a sector. Or various charms that allow for weapon slots to access elements allocated to another slot. For instance, Large Bayonet allows your primary to use the element inhabited by your melee slot. But nothing beats the superior item Preserved Brainstem, which activates smart bullets, effectively auto-aim after a short massacre. Unfortunately, this was outclassed in Act 4 with the addition of free smart bullets. More on that later. Superior items are not the only thing this reprieve provides players, as one of the most important objects exists in this area as well: the Fabricator. This technical marvel acts as a randomized shop with scaling loot tables based on sectors completed. Scrap collected throughout each round can be used to purchase and upgrade weapons, and while you can't purchase armor, you can enhance already picked up armor through the upgrade system. The last function of the Fabricator is arguably the most important: the ability to reroll affixes 2 times and upgrade the quality or rarity of every dropped weapon 1 time. However, upgrading quality is also locked to sectors completed, indicated by the Fabricator max quality meter. Finally, the last meta progression upgrade available in Act 4 comes through the Nanite Forge. Also accessible in the reprieve areas, this device functions as a permanent enhancement to weapons across the board using its 2 functions. The first function allows players to use previously collected and extra tech points to create the currency Nanite Vials, required to use the Forge's main capability. This main capability is twofold. First, the Forge enhances your weapon for all subsequent runs by a base percentage through Sanctification, effectively raising the weapon's default level when dropped, slightly breaking the previous rule on meta progression being locked to subsequent acts. In easier to understand terms, this item will always be stronger when dropped, no matter which run it is used in after this process is complete. Following Sanctification, the Forge activates its second function, adding a unique passive to that specific weapon while kept for that run. These are some of the most powerful passives in the game, with abilities such as a front-facing shield that can absorb 3 hits with a cooldown, to the ability to cheat death, to even the aforementioned chance for smart bullets on reload. These work wonderfully with everything else previously given to players to aid in Deadzone Rogue's most punishing content. Speaking of punishing content, you might want to fabricate a beer for this, because it's time to talk about Ultra Nightmare. Before thinking, get good for failing probably 100 times and taking literally weeks to win, just know it's complete. That's right. Hours of dying, spawning in the ship, having the walk of shame across the bridge to the teleporter, runs ending on the 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 19th. Pick any round. I've died on nearly all of them. Not once, probably 20, 30 times each. Thankfully, when I made it to 20, I won. But 19 is not good. For clarity, here's my setup of my winning run. But I must say, in terms of action shooters, this was probably the hardest challenge I've done. Requiring nearly perfect movement and exquisite synergistic choices, along with a usable seed, mind you, this challenge is the pinnacle of Deadzone Rogue. Honestly, after I completed it, I didn't want to play anymore. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to cry. But nobody can hear you cry in space. I looked down at my Iron Squires, a weapon that carried me through most of the content and didn't penalize me for my horrible aim and my inability to track my ammo reserves or reload before the beginning of a round. At least I unlocked a cool profile picture, I thought. One last note to mention is how audio design plays heavily into the atmosphere Deadzone Rogue presents to players. Slaying thousands of robots and mangled biomechanical creatures wouldn't feel as epic without music tracks to accompany it. And just like other horde shooters that came before it, this game provides killer backing tracks to keep you engaged and on edge. Between rounds, the music will slow down or become more muted, but as soon as the round begins, the music explodes behind gunfire, adding another layer of enjoyment and indicating to players when a round is complete. This audio direction serves as an interesting way of guiding players and their feelings throughout the gameplay. Moving on to the scoring section, unlike a regular Cleric's Blessing, this will just have my final score from each category, rather than a comprehensive breakdown of each individual score, in order to stay concise. Gameplay. Deadzone features an abundance of enemies and missions, with most items and playstyles being viable options. 9.5 out of 10. Art direction. Classic futuristic technology and body horror visuals set across space. 7.5 out of 10. Music and sound. Atmospheric sound and backing tracks enhance and complement the chaotic pacing of gameplay, with enemies emitting various sound cues to indicate attacks. 8.5 out of 10. Environments. Simple geometric rooms with long hallways, mostly randomly generated arenas, non-overbearing verticality, and an easy-to-navigate hub create a streamlined experience for players. 9 out of 10. Replayability. Even after all meta upgrades are exhausted, the ample challenges and missions provide near-endless gameplay. 10 out of 10. This brings the total to 44.5 out of 50, or 89%. A score indicating a nearly must-play. An added bonus comes with the live service model, which has seen multiple updates over Deadzone's lifespan, with the newest update being released just recently, adding new missions to an already extensive catalog. So if you're a fan of sci-fi, roguelikes, first-person shooters, and the motivational support a potted plant provides, give Deadzone Rogue a try.